Hello, welcome to Narrative Inc. I'm going to be doing a book review on Blood for Coins by Cam Wolfe. The book actually just came out today, and I was able to finish it and write up this review today because I have fallen in love with this story and I think it's fantastic. These are just my initial thoughts and a spoiler-free review. I try to explain it, but I'll just let the author do it himself to give you the basic rundown of the story.
Okay, so Blood for Coins is the first book in a fantasy series called The Saber's Noctum. The story is about two seasoned sellswords, Enzo and Rascal, who live in this dangerous world full of monsters, bandits, witches, and all other kinds of stuff. They've been doing contracts and taking jobs almost their entire lives, jobs that most people wouldn't want to do. That could be killing a dangerous monster, shaking down people who owe the contractor money, or stealing valuable items from well-guarded nobles. The list goes on. In Blood for Coins, the story starts with one of these two sellswords being transported from the most dangerous prison in this entire fictional world. He wants to get back to his life of drinking, fighting, and hoarding coins with his best friend, but first he needs to break free from a place that no one escapes. And when he does finally make it out, Enzo and Rascal seek refuge in a small town, while a sizable army searches for the missing escapee. Now they think they're safe, but what they don't know is that this town is ruled over by a wine-guzzling lord on a hill, and that lord has a very dangerous secret. The sellswords end up in a situation much more dangerous than the one that they'd only just escaped. That is a general spoiler-free explanation of the story of Blood for Coins, which again is the first story in a series called The Saber's Noctum, which will be a set of adventures. I really am proud of this book, but I'll talk more about that in just a bit.
Definitely go check out his video. He explains everything in the launch video in terms of the characters, the summary, world building, all that type of stuff. So first of all, if you are just here for the initial is it good or not, it's really good. It is a really fun, quick story. But it being quick isn't an issue at all. It's actually a strength. In fact, it helps give the story a much better pace and contained story with these characters. It's well written. It's insane how well the world is fleshed out in just a short amount of time. I feel like I was a part of the story for the small part that I was able to listen to. There's clearly a much larger narrative that is being planned out by Cam. And just as he puts it, there's just cookie crumbs for that larger story. Let's be honest here. The characters are what we are here for. In such a short novella, we need something to hook us from the first couple of pages. And this story does that really well by making the characters pop off the page. The way they speak is really distinct, and you can tell which characters are which. And also just the way they interact with the world has been masterfully done. The way that one character does something in the world and the way that another character does something in the world, it's done really well, and you can see who is who and why they are the way that they are. So the two main characters that we follow in this story for the bulk of it is Rascal and Enzo. Enzo seems to be the leading man, seems to be the main POV character, but Rascal actually steals the show, in my opinion. I assumed that Rascal would be the sidekick, the guy who just follows Enzo around, but in truth, Rascal is actually the more proactive of the two characters throughout the story. It isn't that Rascal is anything less in the narrative or shows off to be less, but he kind of gives us sidekick vibes from the book cover. And maybe I am biased against tall, skinny dudes like Enzo, but Rascal helps his friend be freed from prison. He gets them their money and really pushes the narrative. You can tell just by the way he does things so naturally how skilled he is, and he really he gives off older brother vibes to the point where their banter and the way that they interact with each other, they basically seem like they are siblings, like they are brothers. Also, he's just as mischievous and dastardly as Enzo, which is actually a bit different than I was expecting from this story. So that doesn't mean that Enzo isn't a great character. Enzo is a great character. Without stating it outright, it seems that Enzo is dealing with some sort of PTSD, the struggle of being in what seems like the worst prison ever in this world for the past 3 years, or at least 3 in-world years. He's clearly struggling, and it's endearing to watch him begin to navigate his new life just a couple days or a day after he's been freed from prison and from the guards. So there isn't really a straight man in this duo, which I found really interesting. Like I said, from the cover, I expected Rascal to be kind of the straight man, silent character, but Rascal he is just as mischievous, but he's actually more well put together than Enzo because he hasn't been in this horrible prison for the past 3 years. The two characters just work off each other so well that it makes it easy to see why they're friends. I never laughed at any jokes, and I don't actually think there are many jokes, but the whole story is really fun. It's quick-paced and never slows down, even in the relaxing moments, because you know that there's this underlying sense that these characters will never be free, or they just at this moment are not free. Also, the cover. Oh my gosh, the cover is amazing. The art shows so much. My sole complaint about the cover is that I feel like it does Rascal a disservice to who he actually is. Like I mentioned, from the cover, it seems like Rascal is kind of this straight man, hard-edged guy who doesn't take anything. And Enzo is the mischievous, dastardly guy with a thief with a heart of gold. But in reality, I would say, depending on the moment and the situation, they can both be the straight man or they can both be the person who guides the other person in the right way. But they're both as mischievous and dastardly as the other person, which to say is a lot, especially in the short amount of time that we are with these characters. And so I love the magic as well. It's not too different from other alchemical and potion magic systems, and it's called amalgamation. It is all about potions and alchemy, but it fits really naturally into this world, and it's really cool. The way that Cam explains it is it's basically it is more of a science kind of, and it's not super crazy because basically you're putting ingredients together and then you're getting an effect from it. But the way that he describes it and the way that these characters describe it is it's so natural. And that makes it really fun to listen to and to watch go off. And it just makes sense with monster hunting that these characters do. And so if you do want to learn more about the world, I would suggest checking out Cam's video about the launch of the book. He goes over the basics of the world building. So overall, my initial thoughts are it is a wonderful story that you can get through in about 5 hours or less on the audiobook, and probably about the same time if you are a quick reader. Cam did mention multiple times that he's wanting to do and he's wanting to see more short form and fun fantasy stories that don't have just like one overarching big plot, but just are episodic in nature. And I really do think he succeeded in this. And I'm really stoked about what he has cooking for the future. So definitely links for all the launch video and the book itself in the description. I love it. I think it's great. I don't really have a ranking system. I would honestly just say based on my information, you can tell if you'll like it or not. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know, have you read this book? Are you planning on reading the book? And what do you think of more short form fantasy? And definitely check out Cam and his content and his story in the description below. Thank you.